Okay, fight's on. Fight's on.
Is there any question who has one of the most stressful jobs in the world? When life or death hangs on the outcome, that's when you are definitely at the highest level of stress. These fighter pilots are very high on this list. These are the men and women who train for more than 5 years, learning how to fly 32-ton jets costing over $40 million, with more than 300 different cockpit switch positions, 9 computers, and more than 80 displays. Didn't we all marvel at the calm, cool, and collected demeanor of our fighter pilots during Operation Desert Storm? And who can forget the Top Gun movie and its portrayal of fighter pilots as fearless, steely-eyed, supremely confident aviators who appeared to be bothered by nothing? Is this true? Are combat fighter pilots really like this? And how did they get to that state? Wouldn't it be great for you to teach your people some of these stress control and performance-enhancing secrets? Such a unique opportunity exists today through former Top Gun instructor, Bill Driscoll.
If I were to take my handkerchief and I were to wipe the tension and anxiety and stress off my brow when I described earlier how I was trapped in this building that was on fire, or many of the events of life, the day-to-day events that have our undivided attention, and they're real, and I'm not meaning to downgrade them at all. They're real, and they've got our undivided attention. But if I were to wipe my brow, and I were to take this jar right here, and I were to squeeze that tension and anxiety and stress, I'm squeezing, I'm not getting a whole lot of anything in here. I'm maybe getting a little bit, a few drops in. And it's real stuff, real strain and real stress. Make no mistake about that, okay? But let me put this right here, because what I want to build for you is a little bit of a scenario now for what combat is like and how that compares to the normal, everyday, stressful events of life. Now, in combat, when we go feet dry or over into enemy territory, in a position now where they've got weapons to shoot at us, they're trying to kill us, and they can cheat, and it's not fair, and we're normally very much outnumbered. What's that like? Now I wipe the tension and anxiety and stress off my brow. I take this jar here, and as I squeeze it in, you can see now that I got something in here. We call this, of course, jar 1. Jar 2, what's it like now when I'm face-to-face with the enemy? I see the enemy airplane, and we're starting now visually to turn, and we know the fight isn't going to end until one of us dies. What's that like? Again, I wipe that tension and anxiety and stress off my brow. I squeeze it into the jar, jar 2. The third condition, what's it like now when 3 or 4 enemy have me in a position where they're shooting at me, they're either trying to drive me into the ground so I'll crash, or each time they shoot and as I break up, there's 2 more back to try to finish me off. What's that like? In other words, I'm in a somewhat hopeless situation and it doesn't appear to be any way out. What's that like? Again, I wipe the strain off my brow, and as I squeeze it in, jar 3. Jar 4 is the last condition. What's it like now when I'm hit? As I'm starting to lose control of the plane, maybe it's on fire, it's not aerodynamically responding the way it should, and a couple more enemy planes are coming in now to finish me off. And that, believe me, that's the reality of war. There's nothing about being a good guy or fair or anything. It's just you get the work over with quickly. So what's that like? Again, you would expect jar 4, as you wipe that tension and anxiety and stress, to look like this. That's what you would expect it to look like, but it doesn't. Jar 4 instead looks like this. It's different. The reason it's different, and I'm not trying to play any kind of little hokey game up here, the reason it's different when we look at these 4 jars, the tension and anxiety and fear can be jammed back down into these jars in the condition of jars 1, 2, and 3. We can keep that genie in the bottle. In jar 4, when I am hit, I'm losing control, and they're coming in now to finish me, and I can't make the plane do what I want it to do, and they're trying to drive me in and all this. The genie is now out of the bottle. In order to understand the tension and anxiety and fear, we're going to go right to the source. Our success as fighter pilots, and I'm sure your success as top salesmen, relates directly to how well you handle the stress and how you perform when it matters most, and in our case, when life or death hangs in the balance.
Bill's air combat presentation is not just about flying fighters in combat. It's about a way of life and the lessons of life which are normally only learned by those who must back up their performance with their life. Bill Driscoll's intense level of training, concentration, and teamwork required to succeed in air combat is what he will direct to your group.
What would you like to get out of something like this from a guy like myself? You know, flown a lot of combat, I'm a salesman now, but give this a little bit of thought as I live out smartly here down the hall. And I won't make anybody feel uncomfortable, but we've got a little mic here. But maybe tell me, what's the one thing you'd like to get out of a presentation like this?
In terms of the pressure points of your job when you were flying, how you handled that, and when you felt like you were at the maximum in terms of your limit, and then going beyond that.
Okay. You're lucky. I was coming your way.
I'd like a vicarious thrill myself.
I understand. Okay.
Bill utilizes extensive audience participation to enhance his presentation, and he'll weave answers into the fabric of your business as they relate to your company's performance in a manner which is both entertaining and humorous.
You're the pilot of this airplane. This is an F-14 Tomcat. You started this thing at about 380 knots, which is okay, but not a great speed. As you pitch up, this is a MiG-29, and he started faster than you, because the reason you know this is because he's able to get up above you, so you're thinking, well, he's faster than I am. I don't like that. I'm a little more than mildly concerned that he's faster than me to start the fight. Yeah. At this point, you're in a bit of a bind. So what we did, you know, exactly as you say, we take the airplane, we rudder it hard. You know, I'm talking not, you know, this is kick it. The folks from Boston will appreciate this. We're going to park the airplane. So we put the airplane right here. Now we're maybe 80 to 70 knots, just barely able to hold the thing. When we do that, what he does is gently flies out like that. And as he does that, he then decides to, you know, dive down. You're sitting here at 80 knots. What do you do?
You got him.
Mm-hmm. So you would go after the kill?
I would.
Okay. How about you, sir? What do you think?
I'd get out of there.
You'd get out of there. What would you do?
I wouldn't be in that position.
You wouldn't be there. I understand. How about you, sir?
Take him out.
Okay. I'm not saying many times in fighter tactics there are several different answers to the same problem. I'm not necessarily saying it was the right thing, but think as salespeople now, a customer that you've worked with for 2 years, an account that's really important to you, and a big account, and the fellow that you've been working with or the gal says to you late one evening, write it up. Can you bring it by my house later tonight? I'm leaving town tomorrow. Are you going to write it up and bring it by later that night, or are you going to make some kind of a reason? I got it. Well, I can't do it tonight, but maybe tomorrow. What are you going to do?
Take him out.
That's right. The lesson of all this is when it matters most, as it did in this case, and one big mistake was going to finish us off, no matter what, don't ever quit. Nothing is more certain than defeat for the pilot or the salesperson who quits when it matters most. That's the point. Is as we work as hard as we do and as the goals that we have in all this, we want to be careful along the way that we don't postpone or sacrifice doing something with people like this that we can't do in the future. We want to be real careful with that. We in Naval Aviation, we've got major problems trying to stay together, keep our families together. I want to tell you that I think the divorce rate in the United States is approaching 30%. The divorce rate for us is closer to 50%. It's a difficult thing. We're working real hard to try to rectify some of that. The reason I tell you this is when we look at, and I tell the pilots this all the time when I go out to Top Gun and talk to them, when you look at what this represents, the best thing in the world you're ever going to have in helping you deal with the stress and the strain of the moment, be it combat or your job, is a good, supportive family. It's been my sincere privilege to be with you this afternoon. On behalf of Navy Fighter Weapons School Top Gun, I'd like to wish you and your families much good health and happiness here in the new year. And for you as salespeople, good luck and good hunting.
Bill has learned and certainly practices what he preaches. During the past 14 years, he has worked in the highly competitive field of commercial real estate in Southern California. During that time, Bill has been ranked as the top salesman in his office 4 times, the #2 salesman 3 times, and has been the #1 office leasing salesman for the past 13 consecutive years.
Comparisons you made between football players and fighter pilots was really well received. Our team really felt the urgency one must have when preparing for combat. The amount of research and time you put into our presentation was quite evident. We have never had an outside speaker have such a dramatic and profound effect on our people as you did. Mark and I obviously have the opportunity to see and hear many world-class speakers. We both commented to each other after your presentation that we had not seen anyone have the dynamic and positive impact on people as you did. Many thanks for the excellent job you did speaking to our players before our game against USC. We're certain your contribution deserves some of the credit for our win. The players have elected to give you a game ball. Nearly 2 decades ago, Commanders Cunningham and Driscoll struck such a blow for freedom. Today, we take the opportunity to recall with pride their courageous deeds.
Bill's message is based on his own combat experiences. On one of his combat missions, Bill, along with 5 other Navy fighters, was jumped by 24 enemy fighters. A huge dogfight ensued. When it was over, the Navy fighters shot down 6 enemy planes with no shoot-downs by the enemy. Bill and his pilot shot down 3 of those enemy jets. They also saved the lives of 2 severely threatened squadron mates by initiating several suicidal counterattacks against enemy fighters. For this action, Bill Driscoll was nominated for the Medal of Honor. He is incidentally one of the highest decorated living naval flight officers of the past 50 years. Bill believes the key concepts responsible for victory in air combat are equally valid for success in business. Competition in today's global business environment is becoming increasingly more fierce and unforgiving. In the future, these conditions will only intensify. However, the underlying principles of any successful business have many similarities with Bill's work. Air combat is incredibly intense work. It's all about teamwork and doing the right thing at the right time under acute pressure. Your life or death hangs in the balance. But it's the little things that make such a big difference. Your people will be riveted to their seats during the air combat presentation. They'll walk away recharged and excited about their own unique challenges. And they'll never forget the key lessons of Bill Driscoll's air combat presentation. How to maximize your peak pressure performance.